Excited to be playing for real now next Monday. We certainly accomplished what we wanted to accomplish out of the exhibition games, and so now all attention points towards a good week of practice and being a better basketball team for our home fans against Oakland next week.
Clayton, you want to start us off?
Being in that environment against a team that talented and a coach that's that legendary, what did you learn about your team, and how can that benefit you guys when you can draw back on that experience even though the game didn't count?
Well, when you're playing against a team that old, that physical, they change their defenses based on who's in the game and based on our personnel. So we saw some real looks, and but overall, I mean, just they're ultra talented. They're well coached. It was on the road in a tough environment where you're throwing shots. They're throwing shots, and so you just stay with it and find a way to win at the end. But we have a lot to clean up.
Tony?
Yeah, shot it pretty well. One battle in the paint, largely on the boards, in transition. I guess, what did you like most about what your team was able to do?
What did I like most about what our team was able to do? I thought their care factor for doing the right thing was extremely high. Across the board, we need guys to be much more accountable to each other and to play in the game the right way. We made a lot of errors, and like I said, St. John's, they're in early season form. They're not in March form. This isn't a finished product by any means, but we have to get better in a lot of areas. But the thing I liked most is we were much more competitive than we were against Cincinnati. Our energy level, our physicality, our aggression was much improved from a week prior.
Dennis?
How about Cadeau? He seemed like he got you in a lot of nice spots, especially late in the game and in overtime. What about his overall run of the team?
I'm overall happy with Cadeau. Same thing. He has some things he has to clean up as well, but I thought he set the table for a lot of really good looks. The thing with him is he's trying to serve his teammates. He's setting them up. He's looking for them. I think out of his 9 assists, 5 turnovers, I think 5 of those turnovers, probably 2 of them were poor decisions. I thought 3 of them were just not being on the same page with the bigs or whatever the case, and hopefully that comes with experience and time and practice reps together.
Chris?
What were your goals defensively in these first 2 games, and where do you want to see things short up?
I personally, as a staff, we expected to play much better than we did defensively, much more sound. Our communication wasn't great. Our anticipation wasn't great. So we have a lot to work on that side of the ball, but we're certainly capable of being elite in that area.
For a team that was in a lot of close games last year, you kind of had 2 exhibition games that showed you guys coming back in Cincinnati and then having a lead in overtime and then kind of preserving that lead. How helpful is that to have that experience against 2 good exhibition teams in order to put that into the rest of the season?
Yeah, just 2 really good teams in general. I think the thing defensively, when the game was on the line, I think there were 2 possessions. We looked like we knew what to do and how to act and how to perform in those moments. And so now we have to do that at a much higher quality for the other 83 possessions or 82 possessions. So, and then offensively, we're still trying to figure out what's going to be our bread and butter, and then what can we counter off of that. So I'm not sure that we, even after these 2 close games, we know exactly where we are in that regard, but we're certainly closer than we were 2 weeks ago.
And how helpful was it to have Merez and Adai back in the game to kind of mix rotations and figure out your personnel?
I mean, I think they're 2 of our most valuable guys for different reasons. Adai's a pressure release and a rim protector, and he didn't play anywhere near his capability in the first half. I thought the second half he played a good solid game. And then Merez, just because he brings so many intangibles and invisible plays to our team, I think if you took 2 of the best players off any team, they'd look a little bit different. And but it's more of just what they bring to the table, as far as size, physicality, athleticism, length, but also certainly the intangibles helped as well.
Alejandro?
Dusty, on Adai, you mentioned post-game that physicality might be an adjustment for him. How realistic do you think it is for him to pick that up, and what's the secret to his passing?
Well, I think physicality, anytime that you're taller and you're longer and you're not as physically stout. As a 7'3" guy, you're going to worry about smaller, stronger athletes getting underneath you. So he just has to figure out a way to use his gifts to create an advantage with them using their physicality. Because sometimes if you can just neutralize a guy that's shorter than you, then you can use your size and length. But we're pleased with the Dye's progress. He's getting better every week. He's getting better every day, and obviously the health piece is very important for him. But I think if there's one thing that he could make a big jump on would simply be changing ends. I think he's leaving a lot of points on the floor by not finding that desire to go get some easy baskets in transition, because he's capable of it. He can move, he can run. He's much more agile than I think he gives himself credit for. But he certainly had an impact on that game, especially at the rim, and those guys putting their shoulder down trying to attack him, and he had a couple blocks. And those things are invaluable because they cause the drivers to be a little less aggressive after they've had a few blocked.
Austin?
Dusty, what's your read so far on how this team's going to handle the expectations of being preseason top 10, top 5 in some places, and just the pressure that goes with that?
I don't know. Who knows? I think that's so far down the list of what we need to be concerned with right now. We need to have a good film session and good practice today. We need to be very honest with ourselves on what we're doing well and what we're doing poorly and fix those things. And then if you get lost in the fight, then the external expectations hopefully don't poison the group. But that's on us to be aware and honest and accountable every single day, and hopefully that's enough.
Chris?
You're gonna be playing an Oakland team that's gonna be playing a lot of zone. Can you just talk about the challenge of that and how that's gonna help you guys?
Yeah, obviously, you schedule this game so you have your zone package in early because you're going to see it. You don't know when. I anticipate because the NBA played a lot, I think more zone than ever last year, that will trickle down even more so into college. It just keeps you off balance. And so we have a week to prepare against it as far as the rhythm and the timing and the unorthodox nature of their zone. But we had reps last year, so we have some film to refer to. We've had guys working on their film from their entire season about what, where the holes in their zone and things like that. But it's still going to come down to passing and catching and running the floor and being completely locked into that possession. But it's going to be a challenge anytime you play a team that plays differently. There's an adjustment period in the game before you usually find your rhythm.
The team scored 20 fast break points this past weekend, really being able to utilize going up and down the floor really consistently, and then also only holding St. John's to 4 fast break points. Can you just talk a little bit about how your team's skill sets with Elliott, with the point guard position, and then as you said with the Dye, really being able to try to take advantage more of those quick, easy buckets, how they can really utilize that skill set over the course of the season?
Yeah, I said it last week. If Elliott can become an elite defensive rebounder, then we're going to be an elite transition team because he has some real gifts in that area and ability to make his teammates better. I was very happy with how we were able to convert 3-on-2 breaks and 4-on-3 breaks, and we discovered something about ourselves as far as the big wings running against guards and then the fives playing off of them. So I think, in real time, we were able to discover an advantage and go to it 3 or 4 times. And I think then we can leverage that for more open threes if we really buy into it. The crazy thing about our turnovers is similar to last year. A lot of our passes lead to dunks or layups, and a lot of our turnovers lead to our set defense. And because of that, for us to turn it over, how many times, Tom? 22? 22 times, and we gave up 4 points in transition. I don't know how. We have some real statistical anomalies going on over the last couple of years in several areas, and that's one of the many. So fortunately, when we do drop the ball, it goes out of bounds instead of to the other team and things like that.
Seems like Yaxel takes a lot of his shots kind of in bunches, like makes the first 3, then takes the next one, or second half drove to the rim, and then he drove again and maybe got fouled. Do you want him to be more aggressive all the time, or do you feel like he's kind of taking what the game gives him?
No, I want him to be more aggressive on the glass. I think the one area he improved more from Cincinnati to this game was simply running the floor with more urgency, getting out into space. And I can't imagine if he's in a 3-on-3 situation or 3-on-2 situation that he doesn't produce a high quality shot for us. At times he's too unselfish as far as kicking it out when he probably has a finish that he can make. But man, it's hard to get on a guy for drawing 2 or 3 players and not making the right basketball play. He has a lot to improve on, but his unselfishness and playmaking are 2 of the things that he's really, really excelling at right now.
Yeah, just simply with the nature of how last year went and now how these first 2 games have gone, you just started talking about it a little bit, the turnovers. I know you said you weren't seeing them in practice.
Correct.
Are you thinking that this is something that will get worked out? Is there an early pattern, or what's your concern level?
I'm not confident that it's just going to get worked out. We're now having pixie dust to sprinkle on it, so we've all got to be much more intentional about passing and catching, about giving the ball space. I thought our spacing was one of our biggest areas that caused the turnovers. I felt like we were crowding the ball, we weren't playing with good rhythm, and I felt like almost everyone caught the ball and tried to be the primary playmaker. We just didn't have, I don't want to say anyone, we didn't have a lot of guys trying to connect the offense, and that's something that I think all of us in the basketball universe are striving for now, to find connectors to make it all work. And usually the beautiful thing about basketball is those connectors end up scoring more, and they do it at a much higher efficient rate. And so we're looking for that, and I think if we can really find a couple connectors, their minutes will go up. Guys that are just steady and solid and play mistake-free basketball in this team, then they'll have a chance to carve out an even bigger role.
Do you have guys that you think that might be?
Yeah, I think we have really good guys. We have a lot of good players in our locker room. We have a lot of options. So yes, I think so. The turnovers, we've got to change some things. It's year 2, so it's 2 different teams. So it's not just the players. It is a small sample size this year, but the urgency is at an all-time high to get it fixed and figure out why it's happening now out in the blue. And we have theories, but now it's, let's fix these things, and we think that'll really help. But are we ever going to be a low 8 turnover, 10 turnover game team unless we just lower our tempo? Because when you're playing twice the possessions, even if you're, let's say back when I got into coaching, you wanted to turn it over 12 times or less, and you're playing 50 possessions, and I think we had 85 against St. John's, 87. And so now I'm not a math major, but now you're talking about 40% more possessions, so you'd think 40% more free throws would be logical. And so we're never going to be a team that I think we sit, but I think last 15 minutes of the game we had 2. And so we're certainly capable when the game becomes all about winning, like nothing else matters, like the last 5 minutes of games last year when you could see a group that there was nothing that mattered other than finding a way to win that game. Then we're capable of doing it, but we have to be able to have that, pride and motivation to take care of the ball as an individual and as a unit.
Brandon?
You mentioned the importance a couple times now about Elliott rebounding and getting out on the break. How natural is that for him? Some guards have a knack for rebounding, some don't. How much are you teaching and coaching that, and how much is it what the other teams doing too? Kind of just that big picture.
I listened to Coach Pitino's interview, and obviously he might be the greatest living coach on our sideline in college basketball, according to a lot of us. According to some, whatever the case. But first thing he talked about was his guards aren't rebounding down. It's not something that's ingrained in guards at a young age. I think when we're playing in youth basketball, if a guy gets a rebound, you get on your big guys to go rebound. And over the course of my coaching career as an assistant and head coach, one of the reasons is we've had guys that really wanted to find ways to win. But a second reason, we've always stressed it at a high level. And the downside of it is sometimes your centers aren't great defensive rebounders. When you look at Vlad and you look at Carlos Schillens, the guys we've had prior, they were elite offensive rebounders and they were very marginal defensive rebounders. Part of it is we stressed those guys keeping the other bigs from getting the ball, so our guards had space and time to go get it, and then that started our transition offense. So we're stressing it every day. We're not doing a lot of breakdown drills to work on it, but we are pointing it out on every single rep and giving them constant reminders, just trying to change the habit and raise the awareness of our guards that if they go get the ball, we've skipped a step, which is the outlet, and there's incentive to run. There's a lot of incentive to run because our guards want to pitch the ball ahead.
Dennis?
Just to hear you about what you're saying day to day, but what kind of boost did you get going out there and playing that kind of team? What's your read on their mindset and just overall confidence after the way they played this exhibition season?
I think anytime you can go win in that environment when you're playing in tough Big Ten games, then you can refer back to it, that even if things aren't going well, you get down 6 or 7, 8 points, whatever, just keep pounding, just keep working, keep going, and there's usually one play that can ignite a team. And so you never know what that play might be, whether it's a loose ball, whether it's a deflection or an offensive rebound. But just so those are the lessons we'll refer back to. As far as everything else, we evaluate our processes, the things we stressed after Cincinnati. Did we improve on those things? And I think for the most part we did, which gives us hope that this team can fix some things not only on the fly but from week to week, because it's like the old Vegas Vacation when Chevy Chase, there's a hole in the dam and he plugs it with his piece of gum and then another one sprouts up and then another one sprouts up. That's kind of how coaching basketball is at times, where you fix something and you feel pretty good about it, and then typically because your opponent's pretty damn good, they expose you to another weakness, and then you better have a lot of gum and a lot of putty to plug those holes. We do. We have a lot of gum and putty in our locker.
Was there one play you liked the most?
One play in the game that I liked the most.
You said that you could look at one play.
Man, I loved how quickly Marez Johnson was getting to the ball. His intensity level, I just think like the moment he got back into practice, and he's been out a while, we were very cautious with his injury. The moment he set foot on practice, the intensity in our gym was elevated exponentially, and that's his secret sauce. And he did a lot of other good things. He put pressure on the rim. I thought just him being on the floor gave everyone a lot of confidence, probably too much confidence. I think sometimes he's out there and they believe he's going to go make the plays behind him, that we can be a little bit loose and over aggressive. But man, he brings a lot of things that we needed to this team.
We'll take 2 more. We'll
That
start
we
with
needed,
James.
not needed, we still need.
We'll take 2 more. We'll go with James and then close it out with Austin.
Let's see over here. Going back to the turnovers, I think the bulk of them have been in the first half. Do you think guys maybe just trying to do too much in our 2-man scheme and are settling in, or do you just think it's better spacing in the second half?
Let's talk about the very first one. We ran a slip play. We knew St. John's would be aggressive with their coverage. Adai starts to slip out of it, and like we teach, and like he grabs him by the waist, and it's just a grab. It's not a hold, and so Adai's got to have enough power and strength to get off of that, enough urgency to get off of it, and we probably need to take a little bit of touch off of that pass. But when you look at the decision that was made, that's one that we can live with. So out of the whatever it was in the first half, there were a few that we thought were good decisions, and they're just part of the game and learning and growing. And then there's some others where we're trying to, if I put my head down and drive into you guys all sitting here now, I'm probably not gonna get to the other side with the ball. So I think that part of the decision making, then put on our brakes. We when we see trouble, we've just got to put on our brakes and avoid it, because we're so talented in some other areas. I mean, you look at the shots we're generating, the offensive rebounds. I think we got 44% of our misses. We shot at a good clip. And so you're negating 2 things you do pretty well. 3 things really, because we score at the rim well, we make catch and shoot threes pretty well, and then we offensive rebound it when we do miss. So it's another reason why the turnovers are paramount.
You mentioned there's no pixie dust, but I guess do you feel like a lot of these are correctable and that maybe some of these things will naturally fix themselves with better chemistry over time?
It's one of those things where we're going to try a lot of different stuff. We're going to tighten up our drills. We're going to tighten up our reward system in practice, and we're this and that. But and so we're going to do probably 5 to 10 different things, and we're going to show them on film, and we're going to teach them, stress different things, and then hopefully it works. And then you take a step back and you say, I wonder which one of those 10 things worked. And so that's kind of how it is as well with us. Like we're gonna throw everything we have at fixing that issue and one or two other issues, and then hopefully we look back in a week or two and we don't know what it was that fixed it, but it got fixed.
Austin, you want to close?
You mentioned earlier looking for connectors. How much do you see Namari and Will as being kind of those glue guys that hold the team together?
Well, Mamari's all about the right stuff, and he's a professional, and he was a little bit banged up, and so yeah, he's going to be that for us, and he could be a lead at it. Will Cheddar, to be honest, down the stretch, we looked like a different team when he was out there and when he wasn't, and it was, I think, just because he wanted to be the floor spacer. He wanted to connect our defense with his communication and effort. I thought he made a couple really practical defensive plays that saved disadvantaged matchups just by him being alert and being active. So I think if we find a couple more guys that have that mindset that they simply want to space the floor, find a way for it to look more look better together with more functionality, then those guys will play, because we have some unique pieces, and when you have unique pieces, then you got to find a way to connect it and make it all work together. So yeah, those two guys certainly have to be two players that make it work.
Coach, we appreciate your time.